Welcome to Momersations and Momosas. My name is Keyera. I'm the proud mother of 2 boys, 1 4 and 1 1, and 3 bonus children, 6, 5, and 3.
Heather, I have 2 children, a 9.5-year-old boy and a 2.5-year-old girl, and I'm in a relationship.
This is Marie. I'm a new mom. I have a 3-month-old son, and I'm in a relationship.
My name is Tia. I am perfectly single. I have 3 children.
Yes.
I have 3 children plus a bonus. 12, 13, 11, and 5.
Zakiyah, I have a 7-year-old daughter, and I am a single mom.
Wants to know what's your child plan? So I have 2 kids, and with my oldest son, who was not with my husband, he was actually planned, and my youngest son, we kind of knew what we were doing, so. Yeah.
My daughter was not planned whatsoever. She was an amazing surprise.
Yes. I guess my son was playing. My baby father told me he was going to give me a son as my birthday present. Finally did it. I went to the doctors and I was 5 weeks pregnant.
Perfect.
So, here you go.
My oldest son was not planned, but my daughter was planned.
Okay, well, my oldest son was not planned. It was surprised that I was able to have him. I had several miscarriages before him, so he's like my angel baby. But I didn't plan any of them. They all just came. They wanted to be here.
What's the best thing about your pregnancy?
Thing is, I honestly love just eating because I feel like
You got an excuse?
You can eat.
shoot.
Yeah, I was about to say, without
Like,
being
yeah, I
feeling
have
guilty
2
about
people
it.
to feed. So
It was so comforting.
yeah, so that was the best thing for me. I remember my belly.
I didn't like anything about it. I guess the only thing was feeling them close to you in your body.
Yeah.
But other than that, that's the only thing I miss. Yeah, that's it.
I don't know. My pregnancy was like amazing. It was like smooth sailing. Nothing was really wrong. I guess the best thing about my pregnancy is that I have high blood pressure, so it allowed me to go to the doctors 3 times a week. So I was able to hear his heartbeat 3 times a week and get
I
some
did like that too. Yeah.
I totally did not like being pregnant.
I
The
wouldn't sign up
best
to
part
do it
was
again.
like having the baby. Like, yes, this part is over. Life, here it comes. But yeah.
For me, I think with my oldest son, my skin was glowing, my
Yes,
hair
perfect.
was growing,
Everything was
I was
good.
a nice size. With my youngest son, I think that I was like really, that's when I started wearing like makeup and lashes and stuff. So I was able to like bring out this different person, and I was
Yeah.
able to get dressed with my makeup and stuff. So it was also good that with my youngest son, his dad was able to go to every appointment with me, and he was there like every step of the way, and I was able to take maternity pictures, which is something that I wasn't able to do in my first pregnancy. But my first pregnancy and my second pregnancy were both very different. I was really sick with my second son. He had my skin like messed up and my hair was falling out, which is why I started wearing the makeup and the lashes. And with my first son, I was like, you know, I was doing it on my own or with my parents, but I don't know, it was like a perfect pregnancy and a perfect delivery. Loves to give you advice or tell you like what's going to happen when you're pregnant. What are some things that people didn't tell you that you wish they would have told you? So if you had any advice to a new mom, what would some advice be that's not like the generic thing to say?
Well, I have 2 because my sister is pregnant now, and she doesn't have a belly, and she's 6 months.
Okay.
So for me, both of my pregnancies, I didn't get a belly until I was 7 months.
Right.
Both of them. So a lot of moms, they look on Instagram and they're scrolling, they see everybody with bellies, like, oh my God, I want one too. And she feels like really depressed because she doesn't have one. I'm like, it's okay, you better enjoy it, because once that belly get out and it's heavy and uncomfortable, so just enjoy everything about your pregnancy, because it seems like it's long, but it goes really fast. It really does.
My pregnancy felt like I was pregnant for 5 years. I don't know if it's because I found out so early, but I felt like that little boy was in the womb for a extremely long
Yes.
time. I felt like I was pregnant for a long time. I think as far as advice, if I had to give advice to another new mom, it would just be that every pregnancy is different. Like
Right.
before I had my son, all my friends already had kids. Even down to my family members, I had 5 nieces and nephews. All my nieces and nephews, except one, already had children. So everybody had so many comments. Oh, it's gonna be like this, it's gonna be like that. And when it was time to deliver my son, it was completely different.
Yeah.
I knew that I was at risk of getting preeclampsia, and never what I thought that I did. And my blood pressure was like 199 over like 105 or some shit like that. And I don't know, I'm normally like so calm, cool, and collective. And the only thing I can remember the doctor saying is like, if you have a seizure, your son will die. We won't be able to save your son. And it was like, damn, your son's gonna die.
Yes.
I was like, calm down. My son's gonna die. So I guess it's just really different for everybody. I feel like you learn as you go, you take it in stride. I feel like the advice that people give you is good advice, but you never know what happened, especially when you're there and you're in active labor. It's just different for everybody.
Yeah.
I worked the entire pregnancy. I left work 8 days before my delivery, and I just knew like I was on feed all the time. It's gonna be a breeze when it's time to
Yes.
push. And the next thing I know, they like emergency C-section.
Yeah.
For who?
Yeah.
I didn't sign up for that. Not for me.
Not
I've
me.
been walking the whole 10 months. So you nuts? No. And it was like,
You never know.
I never would have thought that would have been it for me, but it was.
Going off of Marie's, I feel like when I was pregnant, a lot of people told me like what I need to do step by step. And it's like when I first had my daughter, I tried to go by the rules and everything, but I'm like, this is my child.
Yeah.
What you mean? I'm gonna do what I have to do, and that made it so much easier
Yeah.
for me as a new mom. I keep looking at this camera.
Wow. What advice? Eat healthy.
Yes.
Okay. Eat good, eat healthy.
Eat whatever is dead and cook.
Eat healthy. Eat healthy. Like, I don't know. My first pregnancy, I was so healthy. I exercised all the time. I only gained 5 pounds. Again, I did not have a stomach. It was like an issue. Is she really pregnant?
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my God, I'm 6 months with no stomach. And I worked out every day, and then the next 2 was like, listen, I'm pregnant, I did this, I'm hungry, I'm not working out, my feet are swollen, and then the end result is, hey, look at the new me. So now it's like, I wish I would have just stayed on that healthy kick during the time that I was pregnant.
I think for me, it's really like postpartum.
Yeah.
I think that everyone is so concerned with that snapback and what you're supposed to look like in the life of like social media. You have these what people think is norms, and I think that people rush themselves to look like what's on social media. For me, for both of my children, I went back like that, but with my second child, it was a little bit more difficult, and I feel like I had the expectation of me like going right back to my weight or below my weight, because that's what I did with my first child. So for me, I was hard on myself, and then I got to a point where it was like, listen, you had a baby, your baby was beautiful, your baby was healthy, like you had 2 beautiful kids that are healthy, you made it, like it is what it is, like you're still beautiful, I'm still confident in my skin. So I think that's one of the things that I would say, like take your things at your own pace, like when you're ready to work out, like your body still needs that time to recuperate and to heal. So allow yourself to do that.
Can I speak on that? It's funny because my first pregnancy, remember, I pretty much stayed the same size. My second pregnancy, after I had her, I only gained 10 pounds. But after I had her, I gained weight.
Yes.
Because I was home with her, and you're not really doing anything.
Exactly.
And then, like you said, I'm on Instagram like, damn, these girls look so pretty, their body, snapbacks. And I'm like, okay, I gained 10 weeks, 10 pounds, 15 pounds, 20 pounds. But over time, my partner kept telling me, you're beautiful, you're beautiful, you're beautiful, you're beautiful.
Yes.
So, so even though sometimes I feel like, dang, I see all my friends, they had their babies and they go straight back, it's really difficult for me. I can't, in the work that I do, I don't have time to work out. So I had to really look into myself and say, even though you are bigger now, you have to, love who you are. So, like you said, doing makeup and hair, dressing up, making whatever body you have look good to you. That's so important. So
Yes.
I learned that definitely.
I agree. So I'm going to kind of jump a little bit off task as far as like my questions, but just speaking about that and the difficulty of it is, you know, after having a baby, has anyone experienced like postpartum? Is that a real thing?
Yes.
I personally didn't think that it was something that was real, and that's just, you know, me being naive or you know, being ignorant to it because I've never known anyone who experienced it, or I didn't experience it myself. And that's one of those things where we're judging other moms, right? So that's a big thing, and that's one of the things that I know that I'm really, really guilty of, and I'm trying to like get out of it because as we all experience things, we experience things differently. So again, like I was really naive about the situation, but for me, I've never experienced that. But what about you, ladies?
I definitely have. I didn't really know if that's what it was until I went to the doctor, but I know when I had my daughter, I was like, get her away from me, take her for a while, but I need to hear her.
Yeah.
I just needed to know that she was like in the other room or whatever, but I'm like, I had no idea that that's what it was. I went to the doctor and they was like, I think you're experiencing a little bit of that, but I mean, that was just like, it was weird for me because I wanted her there, but I didn't want her there at the same time. But I'm like, I have to hear her somewhere. But that was my thing.
I don't know. I don't think that I have postpartum, but I had like a meltdown the other day, and I was like, God, am I losing my mind? Like, I was so tired, like tired. And I'm like trying to get myself together so I can get him out the door. So I think I had to go to work or something. And I was like dropping him off to my house. And I'm like, I'm so freaking tired. I can't get it together. And he's like screaming and hollering. So I'm like, oh, let me feed him. And I put him in a swing. And he instantly falls asleep. God, please forgive me because I looked at him and I was like, I want to push him out. I mean, like snoring sleep. And my eyes was burning. I was like, you got to be kidding me. Like, when I was like, am I having postpartum? Like, am I breaking down? And I just bust out crying. I was in the bathroom. I was like, I gotta pray because I feel like I'm losing my mind.
Yes.
God, please don't let me have postpartum. But it was like a meltdown, and I was like, do other moms experience this? Because I'm tired, and it was like in my mind, it's like, oh, you know, you're not as tired as you think you are. And I'm like breaking down, crying, and he's snoring. I was like, God, this has got to be a test of patience because I don't understand.
Yes, it is. Totally
Yes,
is.
that's just normal.
I just feel like as a mom, it's so hard. Momming is a job. It's really hard, and you need that mental time to yourself sometime. I was just telling Keyera the other day, like, after work, I work 2 jobs. So I go to work, and then I go to work, and then I go home with my children. If I'm not going straight to sports and activities after the second job, I'm going home, and I'm closing my door for a half an hour because I can't deal with them as soon as I walk in the door. I need to recuperate and become that loving person. And when you get off of work, sometimes it's like, oh my God, they just drove me crazy. You need that 5 minutes, or you're just going to melt down. And that is like, sometimes I just close my door and I'm in my room. I'm like crying. I'm praying. I'm just thinking like, what is next? I'm tired.
I think it's easy for you because for me, like even when we had this discussion, I felt like I can't do that. And I know there's like things like on Instagram saying like our moms never had sick days, but she did. She just ain't have time for it. And I feel like I have all kids under 6. So especially with the baby, I don't get that time to say, you know what, I'm gonna let you just cry, or you know, I'm gonna just take that me time. Like the only way I can have that me time is if my husband's here. And then that way he's like, he has the kids and I can take that me time. But if it's just us and we're coming home straight from work and I'm picking them up from school, it's like you're straight on mommy mode. And I work with kids, so I'm around kids all day long. To come home to a house full of kids, and it's like you don't get that break. And sometimes I need it, but then it's like I have to put them before me. And I think that as moms, that's definitely the reason why I created SpoiledMilf, so that we're not losing ourselves in being a mom. Like we were people before we were moms, but at the same time, it's really, really difficult. Like moms are humans too. That's one of my favorite things to say. Like moms are humans too, and we have that. You know, we have to give ourselves that time to be human. And I think that it's easier for people with different ages, with
Yes.
ageless kids. Like my son's 1. Like I can't just say, you know what, I'm gonna leave you upstairs in the room because I don't have an older kid to look after him.
Exactly.
My 1-year-old is trying to climb out of the crib at this present time, or he's just start learning to walk up and down the steps. So it's like hard to say, you know what, let me just let you live. And let me live, you know? So I don't know about, you know, you have a newborn. Like I feel like all of our kids are like at different ages. So you know, it's easier to, you know, say how I feel. But
And see, and talking about that is interesting because I have the different ages. I have a 9-year-old and a 2-year-old. She'll be 3. So when I need him to do something, you know, if I needed to go to the bathroom or take a shower or whatever, I know that I can kind of sit her with him and he'll watch her. But going off of being tired and not, so same as you, I work from 5 a.m. to 5 p.m.
Right.
And then straight after work, I have to go get my kids because my boyfriend is not there. So sometimes I'm just sitting on the couch and I'm just like staring at him because I'm so tired. Like I can't do nothing. And I'm like, okay, tonight y'all gonna get oatmeal. Like, seriously, and I feel so bad. I feel bad all the time, but I literally don't have any energy left because I wake up at 4:30 in the morning.
Right.
Yeah, and so I'm in bed by 8. So from 5:30 to 8 o'clock, I gotta make sure that they're bathed, they're fed, they got their clothes, their homework is done. If it's sports, like you said.
Yes. Oh my God.
But it's like, when do I have time for myself? And that's the problem for me because you're trying to figure out, okay, am I a bad mom or am I trying to be a human?
Right.
So
Feel guilty.
yeah, you
It's
feel
hard
guilty.
time.
Like,
It's hard
how
time.
do you figure it
I
out?
feel that exact same way as both of you two because I literally work from 5 a.m. to 10:30 at night.
Yeah.
And when I get home, I sit in the car for like a half hour.
Yeah.
Before you even get out.
Yes.
So I know when I go in,
Yes,
my daughter's
it's
gonna
over.
be, she's gonna wake back up and want to play or something.
Yes.
So I'm like, I feel that exact same way because I have no energy whatsoever, and it's hard for me. Like literally all week, I look like a bum.
Yeah.
So it's hard for me to literally get myself together, look in the mirror like, okay, you're stunning.
Yes.
and we know you know that.
Yes.
All right, so here's just like a thing. I know that you said you have a bonus kid, and I know that you have, like, some of us have step kids. How is it with dealing with the bonus kid? Like, do you have to deal, like, do you treat your bonus kids different than you treat your biological kids? What's that experience like?
So my bonus kid is actually a friend of my boys. They play sports together. I'm the team mom of like 1,000 kids because I am the team mom for cheerleading, baseball, football, whatever, basketball. So everybody calls me mom, but this one particular
Yes.
this one particular kid is like, Mom, I'm coming over your house this weekend, and it's like, okay, cool, like that. He calls me mom. Those are his brothers and sister,
I'm
and
his godmom.
that's his godmom. And it's like, Mom, I'm on my way. Are you at work? Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll meet you at the job, and then okay, I'll see you when I get there. All right. When I say it's time to clean up, he grabs a broom. I don't treat him any different than I treat my other kids.
How old is he again?
13.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he's like the oldest or the same?
Yeah, he's the oldest.
Okay.
So, but no, like he's a really good kid, and you know, that's my son. Period.
That might make a
My
difference.
bonus kid situation is like different, so this is where your opinions and advice is needed. Well, I've quote unquote, I guess, been a bonus mom before. Unfortunately, every guy I've ever dealt with has had children. So, my current relationship now, my boyfriend has 2 older kids. He has a daughter that's 8 and a daughter that's 22.
Okay.
His daughter that's 22 just had a baby.
Oh wow.
So my son and her daughter are like weeks apart.
Right.
I've met his oldest daughter some time ago before we were in a relationship. We haven't come in contact with each other since me and him have been in a relationship. I'm not nervous about the interaction. I just feel like, for me, I'm a daddy's girl. I'm very protective over my father.
Right.
I'm not sure how close their relationship is. So when we talk about it, he was like, please be nice. And I was like, what you mean be nice? Like, what?
What do I have to be
I
nice?
was like, I'm always nice.
Preparing you.
I'm always
like-
nice. He was like, their face ain't nice. And I was like, well, what am I being nice for? What's going on? He's like, well, you know, she's just like a kid. She has a sassy mouth. She's not a kid. She's somebody's mom.
Mhm.
And I was like, okay, whatever.
No.
Meanwhile, the little one is adorable. I feel like all little kids are impressionable, so they don't really.
Yes.
It's never. I don't think it's really a bad interaction with bonus kids that are that young, unless it's another parent
Involved.
influencing
Yeah.
the child. But his youngest daughter, and her mom, they co-parent really well, so I don't think that'll be an issue.
Okay,
Oh,
that's
that's
good.
great.
Yeah, that's good.
That's great. The no drama issues.
Well, I don't have any bonus children, but my son is a bonus child to my boyfriend, and he's awesome. But I always felt like when I meet someone that I can't be with that person unless they treat my child like that's their own.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Really.
So that's always the number one thing, and I feel like if I were to have met somebody with kids, if that's how I feel about my son, I would hope that I can be the same person that I want the person to be. So yeah, because I had great step parents growing up.
Me too.
Yeah.
Step parents make a difference.
I
Let me just
agree.
say.
Yes.
Step parents make a difference, okay?
Yes.
And because I have a great stepfather, I don't believe in like step
Yes,
parents.
you
My
Yeah.
stepdad
That's your dad.
doesn't treat me any different
Yes.
than
I
he
just
treats
call
his
him
normal
dad.
dad. And I think because we lived in the same house, I actually felt like we were treated like different than his regular kids because
You were
we
there,
lived
right.
in a
Spent
house,
so
like
much
he was in
time.
a household with us. On the opposite end, my real father, he had stepchildren, and I felt like I was treated different. Like I felt like I was
I was a
visiting their
stepchild.
mom.
Yeah.
So I felt like
Yeah.
wherever the man is, honestly,
yeah.
I feel like that's who's going to feel like more of a father bond
That's who the
with
man
that
of the
child.
house is.
For me, I have 3 stepchildren, and I have 2 boys and 1 girl. So we all together we have 4 boys and 1 girl, which is really, really rough because everyone knows that I feel like I'm a girl mom,
Yeah.
but obviously I'm a boy mom.
Yes. Be used to it.
So I don't know. So again, like you said, like I've had bonus children before, and with my other bonus child, I had her like 100% of the time. I didn't have to really talk to anyone to feel like what their opinion was because my children's mom are in their life now. It's a little bit different, so it was hard for me to kind of figure out my place.
Yes.
But I think that he does a really, really good job with making sure that we're on the same page, which is how that works. Hasn't been easy, but I do think that like it's new to all of us. So it's new to him having another mom in their life. It's new to them like looking up with another mom or seeing their dad with someone else. And as far as TJ, it was always just me and him. So that's sort of kind of how I started SpoiledMilf. It was just me and my son.
Yes.
And then I went from just me and my baby to me, my baby, a husband, and all of these other kids.
Yes.
And now there's went from 2 to 7. And the juggling of it was kind of difficult because I didn't want him to feel like he was left out because now we're trying to like me and this man came together and we created this bond. And because our bond was close, I wanted to make sure that my son still felt like he was a part of it.
Exactly.
But I still wanted his kids to feel like they were a part of the family that we were creating because Thomas and TJ were able to create a bond because TJ lived with me, so he was always able to see them. The bond for me and my stepchildren was a little bit different because they don't live with their father.
Right.
So which was different for me as well because again, I had access to TJ's sister 100% of the time. Like I was able to get her when I wanted her, and then eventually she lived with me, and that was that. So it was a little bit different, but I do think that the communication is like the most important thing,
Really?
especially between me and him. Now I allow him to do whatever with the moms, but as far as like me and him being on the same page, as far as what we want to do with the kids or like what we're going to do, I feel like the communication is there. I do think that I don't think that I treat them any different. I will say that there is a difference between, again, kids who are physically living in your household to kids who are coming in part-time.
Right.
So I do think that TJ and Zaire, who just happen to be my biological children, do get more because this is their only residence. Whereas though the other 3, they have another home, so they do stuff with their other parents, and they had stuff at their other parents' house. So I do make sure that my kids feel really secure within this home. So,
Right.
yeah.
Well, speaking about bonus kids, I know everybody's been in a relationship with an ex where they've had a bonus kid. Do you guys still keep in contact with those bonus kids, even though you may be in new relationships?
So for me, yes. So my bonus kid is my son's sister. So me and her mother have a really, really good relationship. We talk when it's not about the kids. We talk when it is about the kids. I was still getting her, and we still try to make sure that our kids have a relationship. I think that it's easier when there is no, it's easy to deal with or co-parent when in love with the same man.
Yeah,
right.
So neither one of us have feelings for this man. We just want what's best for our children.
Yeah,
That's for our
right.
children to have a relationship. And she understood that I was a big part of her daughter's life. So she's okay with her daughter still calls me mom, and she was okay with that. And she'll say hey, you run it, whatever the case may be. We just supported each other in that fact. So I think that was a really good thing.
So I never had bonus kids in any of my prior relationships, but I had bonus nephews and nieces, and I love my nephew to death, and we still talk. That's my baby. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm excellent. In my previous relationship, Laura asked me how I have 6 bonus kids now, and only signed up for 4. Let's be very clear. You only signed up for 4. Okay. These are older kids. When I say older, I mean get ready to go to college. Older kids.
Wow.
But they still call, they still sex.
That's wonderful.
That is
2K
nice.
16, 17, 18, 19, 2020 be coming. They'll still be on the line to ask for it. Games and jackets and sneakers and stuff. They're still asking for it. I don't have an intimate relationship with their father. We are still really great friends. But I just, do y'all think that once you're in a relationship, you should cut ties with the bonus children?
It's kind of hard.
See, I think it's difficult for me because bonus child period, that's my son's sister. So
Yeah.
I think that cutting the adults out of the equation, my son is going to have a relationship with all of his siblings.
Yeah.
Regardless.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
I totally agree with that.
and I don't think that the kids are to blame because you and the
right.
parent didn't
Didn't
other
work
parent
out.
didn't work
Exactly.
out, especially when you've already created a great bond.
Yeah, and you don't know how that child looks at you. He might really, really love you, and you disappear one day, and they're like, "Where'd they go? Where'd they go?" So it's that's
I was
interesting.
on vacation.
Yeah,
Yes,
there
like-
you go.
And I would
Yeah.
hate for me, again, TJ and Thomas, they have a great bond. I would hate, God forbid, that me and Thomas were to get a divorce, and Thomas feel like, oh, I'm never going to be a part of his life again, especially because TJ's dad is not a part of his life. TJ only knows Thomas as his dad. So I would hate for us to part ways and for him to be like, I'm done with TJ,
Yeah,
right.
because I feel like that's all my son knows.
Yes.
So that would be difficult. So I feel like it would be difficult for someone to ask that of another person.
Yeah.
And kids, I always say kids tell the truth. They are horrible.
Yes.
And, my babies are all older. And my nephew called me one day and was like, "You don't bang with me." And I was like, "What do you mean?" He was like, "I used to be with you every day, and I don't see you. You don't come around anymore." And I just say, well, I don't really want to interfere on the new relationship and be
Yeah.
like, oh, this baby mom is still lingering, and we honestly have a good relationship or whatever. And I was like, I really don't want you to feel that way. I'm so sorry. Like, how can I make it up to you? Because that is my baby. So it's like, it's kind of hard
It's difficult to
transitioning
explain,
for the kids, you
Yes.
know.
Right.
I was on vacation for 4 years.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I
Have
have a way to
fun.
explain that I'm no longer on vacation.
Yes.
I'm not coming back.
I have one more question after this one, and then you guys can pretty much open the floor. Like I said earlier, it's easy for us to lose ourselves with being a mom, especially whether you have one child, multiple children, bonus children. It's easy to lose yourself, especially with being married or being in a relationship or being a single mom. Again, we're still human, so how did you guys cope with that, or how did you guys deal with that? What's your experience based around that? I know when we first started, Marie was putting her lip gloss on, and she still had to do her makeup, running out the door.
Listen.
You were the newest mom out of all of us, so I'll let let you go first.
Y'all still gotta make sure that my shoes match.
Okay.
Inside the house, okay? It's like, I don't know. I always knew that I wanted to be a mom. I have a million godchildren. God has blessed me with amazing godchildren. So I feel like I've had a lot of preparation in becoming a parent. So when my son came, I wasn't nervous about it. I think the hardest transition was being in a relationship with someone who has kids, but is a freaking space cadet.
Right.
Like, and I feel like it's sort of kind of like we're at a great space now, but for me at one point in time it was like it sort of kind of defeats the purpose to be in a relationship and still feel like a single parent that's stupid.
Right.
And like now he's like, oh, I'm gonna come home, I'll get the baby, you'll be able to get some rest. And I'm like, yeah, this space cadet can't help to heat the milk up on its own, so that defeats the purpose if you come home to get the baby. Period. But you're working on it, babe. Working on it. We're here in faith. Praise God.
Learn as you go.
Yeah. He done been there twice. I don't understand what's going on. I don't know what's going on. This man could build a house from scratch but can't heat up milk. I don't know.
Listen.
I think the hardest transition for me is being used to getting up and going when I want to. Everybody knows I was like a party girl.
Yeah.
They took go to the bar and hand me a shot. And now it's like, he gotta go with me or we gotta stay here. Like, we can't go. So that's like the hardest transition. Even with going to work, I'm so used to going to work and like, hey, I'll stay till tomorrow, you know, but just see what happens. And it's like, no, I can't stay 5 more minutes.
Right.
I have to go home. There's a kid there. Unfortunately, he's mine. So no, you can't stay here. I have to go. So that's taking some getting used to. Even me going back to work now, I've started going back on the weekends. And it's just like, I want to come back to work full time, but I have to give my son a chance to adjust to us being apart because he's working.
Yes.
Oh, remember those days?
The hardest transition now.
Yeah. I remember first going to work. It was like, my son is a month. I'm going back to work. And Miss Bernice was like, go home with your baby. Like, I will pay you, but you're going home. He's a month. You come back when he's 3 months.
Yeah.
I cannot imagine anything happening to you on your way here or whatever, and have to explain to your mom that something happened while you were away from your child. Let that baby get used to you. She literally like sent me home. Like, you're not working. Get your pay and go. So it is hard because you want to get up and go, but at the end of the day you got a mom.
Yep. And that's good that you had a supervisor, manager, boss, whatever that understood that they don't.
They don't. Yeah, it's crazy.
I think for me, with TJ, it was really easy because he was the first grandkid. He was the first kid. So my mom watched him. I think that TJ overall was just like an easy pregnancy, easy delivery, easy kid, even up until now. So I don't think there was like any like transitions that I felt like, oh my God, like I never had it, that moment where I like second guessed myself. I don't even think that with Zaire. I think Zaire and TJ are totally different.
Right.
And then my experience with both kids are totally different. So again, with TJ, his dad wasn't around throughout the pregnancy or, afterwards. But with Zaire, dad is there. But again, because my pregnancy was so different, and then I'm bringing in my second child, but I also have these 3 new babies who I have to kind of like blend and bond with to get to know. I felt like that was my biggest transition. Again, one of the reasons why I started SpoiledMilf, because I'm going from this person with me and this one kid who has a schedule. We're down pat. We sync like we're freaking fat. We kind of got this thing going to now adding 5 other new people to our schedule and to our home and to like our lives. So I think that was the biggest transition. But for me, I'm like, again, I work with kids, so I'm an activity mom. Like, okay, I'm this, and that. We're on a schedule, and we have to figure out how this is going to fit into the schedule. And I'm like, the no running in the house. Like, oh no, you have to sit down. Like, I'm having anxiety attacks about like kids running around or jumping on the couch. So I think that was the biggest transition for me. Dealing with kids coming from multiple homes and multiple rules and multiple parents, and they're like, okay, well listen, at this house I can do this, at this house I can't do this. So it's like they're transitioning as I'm transitioning, and I think that was the most difficult part for me.
The transition that was hardest for me is weird because it's kind of backy for me. When I had my first son, it was just me and him. None of my friends had kids. I was like the first person, well, not you, but I was the first person with kids, and I was young. So it was just me and him. I work with children, so the activities, home, me and him doing work. He going to daycare doing work, bringing home homework. We going on, it was just me. So whatever I wanted him to do or however I wanted him to behave, it was just based off of me. Mm-hmm. So when I had Amaris, I have a whole nother person. And he might want her to act a certain way, just behavior-wise. And then I'm like, no. So that transition was kind of hard because I'm used to it being my way, this way, this way, this way. Yeah, you gotta share it. Yes. So that was a hard, not saying it was hard or difficult, but it's just interesting that you gotta sit back and say, okay, he has to, step in or have a chance to. It's hard.
It is, and you know what's funny? I again the same way.
Yeah.
I'm like, it was just me and TJ, so I made all of the decisions. I didn't have to say, hey, do you want to
no,
whatever. Everything was me, and the extra people was my support system, my friends and my family. Mm-hmm. So I think that now that Thomas is such an active dad, and he wants to say so in everything, it's sort of kind of like, and then I don't know, for me, it's like, I love it. I love that he's so active, but at the same time, I'll be looking at him like, bro. And I'm so used to saying about TJ, that's my kid. I don't, these are my kids. When in reality, no, they have another parent, so it's like. Listen, so I think that was I'm glad you brought that up, because it's listen, that is really difficult when you're used to solely making all the decisions, and now you have to share the decisions, or somebody else gets to say so. I want to cut Zayire's hair down. Tom's like, no, he's too young. I'm like, what? I cut TJ hair. He's like, okay, well, Zayire's hair is you have to let it mature. I'm like, whatever.
I haven't got to that level of growth.
Yeah.
No. This is
we'll share it with you.
Yeah. Kai's a great dad. He's done this before. He's been around the block twice. This is his third kid. I know he wants to be really involved. This is his only boy. But it's when he says something that I don't really agree with, it's that's my son.
Yeah.
I carried him for 39 weeks.
Oh, she's
5 days. 12 active hours of labor.
Oh, okay.
My son, he would do what I do.
And that used to also
you can carry one.
Girl.
So what you do?
With my first son's dad and I, because I would always say my son. And it was
ours.
I know it's ours,
but as a woman,
he's
it's
mine.
It's mine, okay? Mine,
and I'm not
mine,
selfish. I will share the baby with you. Take him, please. It's not an issue, but this is my
guys,
baby.
this kid interrupting filming is my kid. Say hi, guys.
Hi, cute, handsome face. That's my handsome face.
The kid with the drool is my kid.
He drooled on me everywhere.
You get to see us momming in action.
Yes.
So this is real life mom stuff when your kid has to come
stop.
to all adult parties. Someone has to crash, right, baby?
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to me in a bit.
Daddy is here, even though we're drinking mimosa. For breastfeeding or against it? And are we for it in public or not? And how long did you guys nurse?
I'm for breastfeeding.
For it.
I would love anybody doing it in public. I could do it for maybe 2 weeks. My got so flat and my girl could not latch on. It was crazy. And I was sort of mad because I heard you snap back after. But
I breastfed all of my babies. I think my oldest, I breastfed him the longest, spoiled. So, I don't mind people breastfeeding in public, but it's don't pull your whole boob out in front of somebody else's kid. It's cover up, feed your baby, be I feel
If we in a restaurant, just don't let it all hang out.
I know, just
that's
and
nuts.
that for me because then that's a conversation you have to have with your children that's watching that mom do that. And it is natural. I have nothing against but just don't like do it in front of like a whole crowd of babies. Like, and yeah, and
I just feel like, and it's like, I guess some things aren't for certain places. I just feel like, especially around other kids, I feel like if you're in a room full of infants his age, none of them know what's going on. But in a room with kids,
toddlers and
Zayire's age, TJ's age, even Koi. Well, I mean, Koi is old enough to know what it is, but kids like Zakiyah, Amaris, they want to know what's going on, you know. So then you have to explain to them, you can't suck on a boob, but he can. You know, it's a whole breakdown.
That's my whole
of
thing. And then the older boys, they like, Mom, did she just pull her boob out at the restaurant? I'm like, can you please not stare? It's inappropriate. She's feeding her baby, you know, the same way I had to feed you guys. They're like, yeah, you're right, Mom. But it's like the little ones like, Mom, so where does the milk come from? And why is the baby
a cow?
Yeah.
I breastfed.
Yes.
Well, I couldn't breastfeed my first one because he wouldn't latch on at all. But the second one, I breastfed her, I think, for 5 to 6 months. But she was eating too often. And I had to supplement, and it wasn't enough milk. But I walk around naked in front of my children.
I still do.
So they don't
Is that appropriate?
They don't really see it anymore. So I did breastfeed in public when I had my family over, just pull it out because I'm just used to being naked. But me personally, I never did it at a restaurant because I did feel like, okay, people eating, I don't want to do it there. But anywhere else, I didn't have a problem. But I don't know. I guess it just depends on your comfortability level. I guess. Yeah.
Well, let me tell you how comfortable I am.
Oh, we know.
We know. I breastfed TJ all the way up until I was pregnant with Zakiyah, and everyone would like laugh.
She didn't want to stop.
Yes, everyone.
He
was
was like 10.
He was 3, and I felt he was 2, but I felt like. You know, for me, I felt like my baby is smart. He's not really sick, and I feel like this is the best thing for him.
Right.
So what's
the
wrong with saying?
problem?
His pediatrician was saying you could do it until he was 5, and I used to joke and say like my baby will be on the soccer field, and when everybody is going for their Gatorade, he will be standing here, and I'm pulling it out so my baby can handle it, and I really meant that. Zaire stopped earlier. Zaire wasn't even 1 before he stopped nursing. But he still wants to like be near it and feel on it. I'm all for breastfeeding in public. I will pull my boob when my baby is hungry. He's hungry. I will pull it out when they want it. And I think that comes from, and I used to judge my cousin because she used to pull her boob out anywhere she wanted to. And I used to be like, you were so nasty, but I didn't have kids yet. And I used to be like, you were so nasty. I judged her so bad. And when TJ was a baby, he did not want the cover over him. And it just was like, so am I going to starve my baby because I can't cover it up? And I made that decision like, no, I'm not. I'm feeding my baby right here, right now in church. This is what's going on. I was at my grandma's church, and I'm feeding my baby here right now. From that day on, expose the booby wherever we are. We could be at the fanciest restaurant. If my baby's hungry, he's going to eat. Even if he's not hungry, because most of the times, Zaire takes a pacifier now, but TJ didn't take a pacifier, so okay, well, he'll have this, and even if he's not hungry, he just wants to suck on it, that's what he'll do. So I feel like free the boob, let it all out, feed that baby when that baby's hungry. Free the boob.
Free
All right, ladies, I know you guys have some questions before we wrap up. What do you want to say, or what else?
Who's going? So my question was, what is your outlet when you do get a chance, like, to stop? It's hard to stop focusing. You can't stop focusing on being a mom. Like, momming is a 24-hour job. But, like, what is your outlet? Like, what do you do to, like, that?
Okay, I got a good answer for that. So, for both my kids, I was stay-at-home mom. My first one, I think, until he was 2. Amaris, the same, 2, 1.5 or 2, whatever, 2. So, and she can tell you, I would just be with my kids, and then when I went to work, go to work, come back home. I didn't talk to anybody because I was that was also my kind of thing with my postpartum depression. It wasn't towards my kids, but I was just sad, and I felt like I wasn't nobody else but being a mom. So one day I talked to my boyfriend, her dad, and I said, listen, I'm not doing this no more. I need to go out. I said, you going to stay here with them, and I'm going to take a day. Every weekend, I got a day. And he it's not that he doesn't hate it, but sometimes it's like, dang, I wish I could spend that day with you, but I need that day to be away from him, to be away from my kids, just be me and do what I want to do, whether it's going shopping, running errands, be on my friends, whatever. That's what I do now. So every weekend I have a day to myself where I just do something away from my kids. And it is a little bit easier because they're older, whereas, you got little babies, so it's a little different. But that's my outlet.
No, I think for me, I like to, so prior to being a mom, or even when it was just me and TJ, I was the girl night lady, so I always had the girls' nights, I always had game nights and stuff like that. But when it became 7 of us, it's a little bit more difficult to do that. So, again, starting SpoiledMilf and making sure that I'm holding myself accountable for still being Keyera, or holding myself accountable for still being a friend, and making it special time, or even making it time to go on dates with my husband, or do stuff like that. I still have to allow myself that time. So I know I get a little bit pushback with times when I want to go have a date night, or when I need that me time, even if it's me coming in the house and cooking dinner, and then after I cook and feed the kids, I go upstairs and take a bath, and I'm upstairs in the bathroom for an hour and a half. I need that time, and I think that it's hard for guys to understand that being a mom never stops. Now I will say that Thomas is really good with getting up in the middle of the night if Zakiyah gets up or if the kids get up. He's really good for that, but it's still stressful, just being a mom, or just balancing everything, working full time and doing all these extra things, and making sure that you still are holding yourself accountable for being your person. So for me, I like to have girls' nights, and it doesn't have to be a girls' night, but me getting dressed up and going to lunch or brunch with my girls is something fun, or having my girls over and we're playing cards at the table. You need that time away from work, husband, and kids. So yeah.
I feel like I'm still struggling trying to figure that out. I mean, my daughter, she goes with her father every other weekend, but I find that when she leaves, I'm asleep all weekend. My phone's probably off. I don't answer. If I answer, it's 12 o'clock at night. And then still, I'm going right back to sleep after I talk to you. So I'm still in the struggle, trying to figure what I'm going to do.
I'm having that problem as well. My mom called and she's like, so what do you want to do? And I'm like, I just want to sleep. I need a nap. Can I just sleep for one day with no
interruptions?
At all. It's so hard. My kids are right, and I always cuddle them. They all still want to sleep like this, up to the 13-year-old, and he's like, Mom, I need some arm, and he's getting in my bed, and I'm like, find myself sleep, and it's Kai, Pixie, Koi, and the dog, and the cat, Bonnie and Bella, and we're all in one bed, and I just okay, I have a sofa bed, I'm gonna leave, I'm gonna go downstairs, pull the sofa out, go to sleep, and I wake up and I'm like this. Kai, Koi, Bonnie, Bella, Pixie, and it's no outlet, so it's hard to get that. So I'm honestly still working on it as well, but it's who are your people you trust to keep your kids so you can have that away. Peace, so
I think you said, you sleep. I found myself when my mom was saying hey, her and my dad are going to take the kids, I found myself cleaning. So it's I would take that time to okay, the kids are going, let me do an entire house and clean the entire house from top to bottom. And then you realize that you're spending your entire day cleaning, and that's your free day. And then when your free day is gone, you're still exhausted because it's you were still at work. So I've learned to like kind of balance that. I have a planner. That's my way
There you
of
go.
doing things.
Mhm.
I have a planner. So I make sure that my husband gets his personal time. I make sure that my kids get their personal time. Peyton is the only girl, so I make sure that I have that time within a month that I'm giving her special time. And then I make sure that I have time for myself
Yeah.
and then time for my girl. So I had
Yes.
to like actually schedule that in and pencil it in order for me to like make sure that I get everybody, including myself, in with. Like,
See, a planner didn't work for me. I had a planner and planned out every single event. And it's like I had my time. I wrote down my time where like I would just have me time. And I feel like every time that time came up, my daughter would call me like, "Mom, I need you to come get me," or something like that. And I'm like, for example, yesterday I had off from work and she had school, so you know, it started snowing.
Yep.
I got the call at 4 o'clock in the morning. They said they were all school. I'm like, my God, she's home all day.
Almost.
Right.
Almost.
all right, y'all, we want to wrap up. Anybody want to say anything or have anything they want to say to our people?
I just
Alright,
want to.
so let's leave it out. Go ahead.
I just want. Where do I look?
Go ahead.
I just want to say this group has really like, I don't even know the word, inspired me and everything. I see everything you ladies do and all of our stories are different.
Yeah.
No one is the same, and I know you guys go through the same struggles as me. And just watching you guys continue on with life, just like, all right, Keyera, you can do it. Everybody else is.
Mm-hmm.
You
Right.
got it.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, I think the other thing, the important thing is to realize that, again, like you said, everybody's storyline is different. Everyone's struggle is going to be different, but everyone's struggle is pretty much the same.
Yeah.
So it's good to have that support.
Exactly.
People
Yes.
like people that you really can trust, people who have gone through the same things that you have gone through, but people who did it a different way that you can maybe try to switch up.
Exactly.
And I would say like our group is really, really good, is really, really strong. Of course, you guys know that I've always had a whole bunch of friends, and my friends have never really gotten along, and I feel like I'm in a group where everyone is willing to build each other up, motivate each other, everyone is supporting each other, and I feel like really, really happy within like the people that I'm surrounding myself with.
And I was just about to say that. I said I think the thing with me that helps the most is I've known y'all for a long time.
I was about to say, y'all.
That's
the
my
main
word.
word. I know.
Yeah.
I see y'all.
A long time.
Before people had
Right?
kids.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
know
A
everything,
long time.
how people are. So it's also us being honest. We know each other's story. So it kind of helps to be open and share, and then know you're not going to be judged.
Exactly.
And, you know,
Sometimes humans too.
yep.
I know, like how Keyera said, it's good to be like in a group where you know that everybody is like having, you know, different struggles. I feel like it's a great group because even though we have so many struggles, so many different schedules, everybody's trying to make time for friends, family, work, children, we still all have the same goal to be an amazing person outside of being just a mom,
Yes.
a worker, employee, wife. So I think it works out.
Boss moms.
Yes.
Spoiled milfs.
Yes.
Should we do a toast?
Can we?
So-
Almost empty.
Kick it off.